Hello, everybody, and welcome to Soul Vessel Mysteries. And today I want to talk about sound healing, voice alchemy, and the benefits of those things and why I am using them. And also, I want to share a bit about my own story, like how I got to where I am. And not literally, but to who I am now and why I am using those techniques. And how I got there. I also want to share a little bit about my own story, how I evolved through the years, how I even get into this field of spirituality and started what I'm doing now. I don't want to get too deep into that, but I will share a little bit about that, so you know, yeah, who I am. And so I want to do that. I will also put a little like timestamps down below in the description box. So because I kind of have the feeling that this is going to be a longer video. So for those who want to just jump ahead to the things that you most interest you, please feel free to do that. Anyways, what else did I want to say? I also want to share a little bit, or like I want to try to explain what it is exactly that I'm doing when I am creating a voice alchemy recording or when I am giving a sound healing session. So that's probably something that I will more do like in the end, but I will see. I will just go with the flow. And yeah, so like basically, when I speak about sound healing, you can of course take any kind of sound or like instrument or like any kind of medium to use sound, but I'm specifically or mostly I will talk about the voice as a medium of for sound healing or an instrument for sound healing. And actually, I actually think the voice as a medium, that sounds to me quite accurate actually, or the sound as the voice as, I want to say the voice as a vessel, but it's not really accurate because that would almost mean like that the voice would be manifest, but it's not. And that's also like when I was like preparing for this video, something that really stuck out to me and was like making me curious also, because I was like, sound is not really a 3D kind of thing, right? It has already another vibration, or it vibrates on another. It's so funny because I cannot even put this in words, because like, yeah, sound is nothing that, it's not a material or something, it's not manifest, and therefore also already is from another, let's just say another dimension, maybe, oopsie, sorry. From another dimension view. Now I'm like shaking everything up. But so there are like these famous quotes. I don't know if you heard them, but there's like this one saying, I don't know what language it is. I forgot to look it up actually, I'm sorry. But it's called Nada Brahma. And Nada Brahma is like more or less translated, as far as I know, because I don't speak that language, whichever language it is, but it's translated as the world is sound. So, and then we also have this Bible quote, I don't think it was from Genesis, but I'm not also, again, not really sure. I'm also not really sure if it was like originally written in Aramaic or in Hebrew. So, but there's this saying, in the beginning was the word, or in the beginning there was language. But I heard at least people talk about or say that it was actually originally, or it could be translated with, in the beginning there was sound. But I, as you know, like, don't take that for granted, because I don't really know that. So I need to do some research on that myself. But yeah, so like the theory behind that is that, like everything we see, everything that matters or everything that is matter is vibrating on a specific frequency. It actually is frequency, or it is And it is sound, like, because if something vibrates, and that is like, like with I'm not a scientist or anything, I'm just like, this is how I understand it, and I'm trying to explain it to you exactly the way that how I understand it. And I'm probably not using I'm probably not being 100% accurate or something, but if something vibrates, then it creates a sound, right, on a certain frequency. And it does not matter if the human ear, or we are with our human ears, are able to perceive that sound in order to know that it does sound on some level. And we also know, for example, that like animals have, for example, a different range of what they are able to hear, and so like what sounds they can perceive. And also we have ultrasound, for example, or sometimes we use sound and we can only feel it in our body, but because the frequency, let's just say, is so low, I'm also not really sure if low and high are the correct words to describe this, but because the sound is so low that we cannot hear it, but we can still perceive the vibration of that this sound creates within our bodies. So that already is I think very fascinating. This is not going to be a video about the whole theory and the technical aspects of that, obviously, as you can probably already figure out, because I'm not really not yet an expert on that, even though I read a lot about that and really dove into that topic. However, I'm most of the time I'm experiencing, or I am sharing what I experienced from doing these things. I'm sharing from my own experience. So I try things. That's how all of the things that I do actually work. I try things, and if they work, I continue to do them. And that's for me, that when I started to do that, instead of listening to what other people think I should be doing, or what was the right thing to do, my life turned around for the better. So that's, for me, a good way to do things. All right, so I want to talk about the voice as a medium, as I already said, and what we can do with it. Also, what you can do, or what every person can do, and how we can use sound in order to heal ourselves. And I will also talk a little bit about what I mean when I talk about, or when I say the word healing. Maybe I will say it just right away, because when I say that I'm creating voice healing or sound healing or voice alchemy, then it's actually not really me who is healing somebody, because I cannot do that. I cannot heal somebody. It's always on the other end, always on the end of the receiver, that because it's this person who makes the decision that they want to change something. Healing means also changing something. Healing can mean that to let something go, to release something. And that is always, sometimes the universe just forces us more or less, or really triggers us so heavily that we are okay, I have to let go. But it always, no matter what happens, it's always on us how we work with that, and if we allow ourselves to open up, and if we, for example, allow ourselves to receive something. If I send you a voice alchemy, for example, just for the record, I will never send you anything if you don't want that. And even if you tell me that you want something and I send it to you, you still have to open up. You still have to allow yourself to receive those frequencies and to let that in. And you are the one who has to allow yourself to change, to let something go, to shift, and to, all these things. So that's the thing, that healing, from my perspective, always is a matter of self-healing. I cannot just go around and randomly heal people. That's not how it works. And that is what I truly believe. And I also, if we're already talking about codex, here is I would never force healing, or then it actually wouldn't be healing. Healing can't be forced. Or like I will never force myself onto other people in whatever kind of way. And that is also like, it's a topic for another time, but I think it's quite important and I want you to know that. All right, so I will start with like talking about myself a little bit and sharing with you who I am and how I got to where I am now. So I have been singing, like always, I guess, maybe not in the womb probably, because I don't think it's possible. But I have been using my voice and have been singing since I was like a little child. And of course, my mother has like funny stories about that, but I'm not going to bore you with those. But then I was like, still as a child, I already took singing lessons, classical singing lessons. I went into the choir, and when I was a teenager, I was participating in musicals, and also like the whole spectrum of self-expression through art. That's like actually what I come from, like theater, music, singing, dancing, not too much, but of course I also like dancing. But it was not what I was, I did never really took dancing lessons or anything. But also the more like, what's it called? The building arts, crafting arts, I'm not so sure. But like painting, and I was always painting, drawing something. My whole room looked like a big collage, like the walls were like just like one giant collage actually made out of all kinds of different things, pictures, photographs, pieces from magazines, and so on and so on and so on. So self-expression was like a very big thing, and I also later went to like study theater and media. I read a lot. I worked at the theater, I worked at the movies, and so on. But I also was suffering from depression since I was a teenager. So since I was about 13 years old, there I know also from my diaries that it already started, and it got really serious when I was like around 15 years old. And so I will not get into detail about that here. Might do that in another video. But I mean, since like from when I was like 15 years old, I was severely depressed and suffered from that, obviously, because it's definitely not fun to be depressed. And later it got even worse, even worse. I'm not even sure if that's accurate. But anyways, when I was like not a child anymore, not a teenager anymore, and had to start working and figure out my life. And when I was working at the theater, it got really bad because I was taking medication and I couldn't live without them anymore. And that was also like, that has like a massive impact on you. I was also diagnosed with ADHD. Or ADHD, I don't know how to say that in English, and a bunch of other stuff. Anyways, I will not get too much into that. I just think it's important for you to know that in order to understand how I got to healing, to the topic of healing. Because of course, as I already said, I took a lot of medication. I went to therapy for 10 years, like intense and in-depth psychotherapy or therapy. And I worked really hard on myself, and there was also like a little progress there. But I was still super depressed and got into a huge crisis when I was 33. And then I will skip all the details, but then I got into spirituality and I got introduced to alternative healing practices and healing techniques. And those turned out to work very well for me. So I will just give you I tried so many things. Since that was 2017. That was also the year in October 2017 I healed myself from the root cause of depression, which is amazing. I'm still amazed that this worked. And Since then, I did not suffer from severe depression anymore. I did not take any medication anymore, or yeah, it's just not existent anymore. And there were other things that are kind of like related to that topic, because depression is kind of like a big thing with many different stances. I will not talk about that today, so I'm kind of getting hung up and like in all those details, but I want to focus on sound healing today. So the things that I tapped into were shamanic, like things from shamanic traditions, energy healing, shadow work, inner child work, de-armoring, gestalt therapy, family constellations, the completion process by Teal Swan. It's like designed by Teal Swan, and that actually was the technique that helped me to get to heal the root cause of depression. And I'm saying the root cause of the depression. Again, not getting into that. I think it's just like, like she designed that technique, but she uses inner child work, shadow work, and like old, like things that she did not invent anything. Healing is not invented by anyone who lives now. Healing already, like always existed, but everybody, of course, can put a different spin on that. So that is also like something important to know. So it does not, on some level, that also means it doesn't really matter which technique you use, because on the most basic level, they are using all the same principles. It's just a matter of the medium, or like the instrument maybe also. You can work with the body, you can work with sound, you can work with your mind, more like figuring things out. You can work with the belief system or something like that. You can work with energy, like in a like Reiki, or you can, there are limitless possibilities on how to do that and how to do it exactly. But on the most basic level, it all comes back to the same principles. At least that's what I believe. And yeah, tapping into all of these things. So ancestry work, akashic work, authentic relating, tantra, energy healing, as I already said. Then I learned a technique. It's called metaphysical anatomy technique. It's very much focused on working with the body. I guess also like similar to Reiki on some level, but also I never really did Reiki, but so I don't really know that, but it sounds like that, or very similar. Also theta healing, and a bunch of other things. And that's what it's like, the technique that I got trained in, and that's how I started to do that. So like very much focused on the body, which I'm just like pointing out because I'm still using that. I'm still often visualizing the body of a person and see, okay, where are the blockages, and so on. All right. Yeah, so I did all those things, and then in 2019, and I'm continuing to do all those things. In 2019, I was living in Bali for a few months, and there I got introduced into sound healing. And of course, I already knew that it existed, but I never experienced it within a ceremony, for example. And in Bali, I have to say, it was just amazing what they did there. They have like, for example, the pyramids of Chi. Sorry, getting notifications. The pyramids of Chi, which are like huge pyramids, just with this, like built, I think, for this intention of using sound for healing. And it's just really amazing. It's just really, really amazing. And there I joined sound healing ceremonies, and especially one woman. Her name is Ama Sophia Rose. You can also find her on Spotify. I love that album that she puts on Spotify. However, from my perspective, like, it's not comparable with what I experienced in this live session. It was just so profound. And she's using her voice, and it's just like really magical and absolutely amazing. It was mind-blowing for me, and I had such intense and deep experiences that helped me shift profoundly, and like I just experienced like how deep and profound this work can be. It can be to use sound for the purpose of healing and transformation. And yeah, so that was there. I joined also, like, I experienced, like, I was also visiting other sound healers and sound healing, joined other sound healing ceremonies there. Also did bunch of other stuff. Also attended 2 trainings, and not sound healing trainings, but other trainings. And yeah, had a lot of friends there and all that stuff. But yeah, so like that is when I got introduced into sound healing. And from that moment on, I knew, okay, that's I want to get into that. That's what I want to do, because I mean, it just made sense also. But of course, I also had like my own path with using my voice and expressing myself, because there was like, even though that's kind of like how I started, I was also like very repressed in that area. And it was sometimes a very unhealthy way of self-expression. And on some level, at some point, also during my teenager years still, I kind of stopped. And I was not really able to express myself authentically and freely anymore. And even to the point that I stopped singing after school. I stopped singing for 10 years. That's freakishly long time for someone who loves that, who like that was always like super important to me. But the pressure that I experienced and the pain that is, like, I can still feel that pain, like part of it is still there, was just so intense and immense that I was not able, as I said, to express myself freely with that anymore. And then starting from 2019, I it started already a little bit earlier, but it got intensified, that I worked with that and slowly made my way back into the realm of healthy self-expression through singing. And yeah, and also, of course, there was like a way with, like, like the whole conditioning of society was, like, of course, one part. Whole conditioning of my family was one part. I mean, that's always the part, like, if you're starting to heal and want to self-express in whatever kind of way feels authentic to you, then those things are always what you will have to look at. And but also, of course, the conditioning that was coming from taking classical singing lessons, because on some level they can be a blessing, because you learn amazing techniques and how to really train and use your voice. But it can also be like, if it's not really authentic to you, then it can also work in a more like destructive kind of way. Yeah, I even would say destructive, actually. And through those years, then starting in 2019, I found my way back to find my own way of using my voice in the kind of way that is authentic to me. And not necessarily, I'm still, of course, using sometimes these techniques or what I learned back then, because I cannot really unlearn what you learned. But I am using it in the way that feels right for me and good for me. So yeah, that was like a whole part. I didn't even want to talk about that so long, but yeah, anyways, so like that was what happened. And then the first time that I actually really freely expressed myself through voice alchemy and sound healing was in 2021, in summer in 2021. And since then, and that's when I gave a sound healing session back then for a group of people, and I felt so comfortable, and so it felt so natural for me. And even though I was in a state where I was like physically very unwell and didn't feel good at all, and that at that time, I still, and also even my voice was not on top. It felt just, I was like, no, I was super confident. I was like, I knew it was going to work. And yeah, that makes me really happy. Because whenever we feel like that, like we have like, it's like an inner assurance or yeah, that you know it's going to work, and you can do it. There is no question around that. And then I think that is always also kind of like a sign for that it's right, that something is really right. No matter the hurdles, no matter the challenges that might be there, and so on. And yeah, like it's interesting, because also what I had to learn when you are like really doing this kind of work, and also like other kind of spiritual work, and especially if it has to do with channeling or bringing through healing and bringing through, like doing mediumship or things like that, it's always an important part, from my perspective, and a very important part of the work, that you learn to put your ego aside, which is not always easy. And I'm also not saying that I'm like, I mastered that. For sure I didn't. But, and what I mean like with that is like, like if I want to, the most important intention I always set, no matter what I do actually, but also of course with voice healing or voice alchemy and sound healing, is that I will bring through whatever is most needed for that person in order for them to be in alignment with their highest good. And that can also mean that it will sound ugly or weird or, like not nice, not comfortable, maybe a little cringy even. But I will get into that, and I will try to explain why and how that is. Give me a second. So I will try to explain to you why that is, but yeah, that's like an important thing to do. And of course, yeah, so like it's it's most important that you learn to let spirit speak through your voice, let yourself be used as a medium, as an instrument for bringing through what is most needed at that point in time. And that, and we do not want to sound weird. Or stuff like that, right? We want to sound beautiful and nice, and that is of course also part of the conditioning. But yeah, that's like also like an important part of, and that I'm still also like practicing. Like sometimes I make a video and I'm like, well, I look so weird on that video, or should I really like just send this out? But I also at the same time I have the feeling, yeah, but that was what came through, and it does not matter how I look. Of course it matters to me. But and also I think it's nice to look at something, like if something looks nice, especially if it's a video, then of course it's more fun to look at. But yeah, it's not the point. The point is that I bring through what needs to be brought through. And if that sounds weird or intense or very dark, or yeah, like like often I also like just sometimes I bring through words because I kind of I'm just getting the word, and then it needs to be brought through. And it does not matter if it makes sense to my logical mind or not. It's just that I get it out. And even if it's just, like, especially when I'm doing like voice alchemy for the collective, then maybe this word will only make sense to one person who watches or better listens to that. But then this is like the purpose for it, and it's only for that purpose, for that person. And if nobody else understands it, then that is how it is, and I have to be fine with that, or yeah, find peace in that. So now getting a little more into how I worked with that. So back then I still had my other business, and where I was using this healing modality that I learned, and I started to implement sound into the healing session. It was like, I was like working with energy healing. So like when you use energy in order to heal, you are kind of like setting the intention to focus light or energy, a healing frequency, onto a specific part, for example, in the body, or a pattern, or to bring light in, to bring, like healing. And that's like, for those of you who have no clue what I'm talking about, maybe I will make another video about that, where I try to explain that a little more in depth. But you focus your attention on some area, let's just use it like that. And I started to actually silently use voice in my head. I heard a specific tone in my head, and used that to pinpoint or to focus on that blockage. Most of the time it was blockages in the body. And for me that worked very, very well, even though of course the person didn't hear a thing. But that's kind of like how I started, and like sound was just like appearing in my own realm all the time, and also like in my own healing. And so I started to do that. And now I'm actually kind of like, that's kind of like how I do voice alchemy or sound healing, which is basically the same thing. It's just like I'm using two different terms, because voice alchemy is really like using your voice, obviously, or in my case, using my voice to alchemize things, to help transform things, unhealthy patterns, obviously. Not if something's fine, why would I change it? And it's like I'm specifically, that's in when I do a sound healing session, most of the time I'm also using my voice, right, to do that. When I create voice alchemy recordings, then this is mostly what I do. I use my voice, and those recordings are most of the time short, so like up to 10 minutes, but mostly not longer, so like between 5 to 10 minutes, more or less. And I focus on using my voice in those short ones. But when I do a sound healing session, then, I also use my Shruti box most of the time, but also in sound healing sessions, I use the Shruti box, I use my voice, obviously, but I also implement other things that I learned. I'm actually also doing that in the voice alchemy recordings, but for example, I can include guided meditation, or maybe a little more talking sometimes if I feel that it's necessary. And yeah, like it's like really like how I feel. So I never know what is going to happen. I have no clue. More or less. I guess like, okay, I will probably use my voice. I will probably use the Shruti box, and maybe I will say some things. So like that's the structure basically, and it will be more or less this time frame. But other than that, I don't know what will come through. I don't know how high, how low, how much singing in a sound healing session. Like it's like usually a session will be like half an hour to one and a half an hour time frame. And if it's a ceremony, it will include, of course, also like maybe cacao, or setting intentions together with the group, or something like that. But so like I will maybe use a guided meditation, or also implement other things that I learned from, for example, shadow work or inner child work, or some things like that, if I have a feeling that it is necessary. And this is how I work. I sit down and I set the intention that whatever the person most needs right now will happen through me, in order for them to be in alignment with their highest good. And then I have to trust that whatever happens will be exactly that. And that sometimes is also hard to accept for the ego, because sometimes the ego wants something specific. For example, let's just say in a mediumship, I want to connect with one specific person that died, right? But if it is not in alignment with the highest good of the person at that moment to connect with them, then maybe somebody else will come through, or something else will come through. And we all, I think, have to develop a trust in that. Of course, obviously, if we work with people who can be trusted. That's, of course, for us to decide, right? Or to discern, actually, more. And so I sit down, I set this intention, and maybe there's another intention. Maybe the person said, I have this and this, that issue. Maybe it's a physical issue. Maybe it's an emotional issue or an emotional topic. And then I, of course, include that in the intention. And then I just tap into the energy field of that person, or of the group, if it's a group, and see what comes up. Like I set the intention, what do I need to see? What do I need to know? What do I need to work with in order for those people to be in alignment with the highest good? And then I see what comes up. And I'm kind of like using all my senses in order to do that. So, and all the things that I learned from all the different technologies, modalities and techniques that I learned and that I tapped into and worked with. And then sometimes something will come through my clairvoyance, So I will see something, and that can be a metaphor, or it will be, as I said earlier, I'm often working with the body. So often I see the silhouette of a body, and I'm drawn to specific areas, pain points most of the time. Or I see something, like maybe an animal showing up that is like telling me something about the state of this person or the problem. Maybe some people show up, or whatever it is. Sometimes it's expressed through my clairvoyance. Very often I can feel it, so it's like expressed, or I perceive it through my clairsentience. But also, of course, clairaudience and what's it called? Claircognizance. Those are like my claircognizance is also like a very prominent clair of mine. Even though it's like a combination of those. It's like always like a combination of all of those clairs. And then I work with that. And sometimes that means, as I said, that words will come through. Sometimes also like names come through, or specific affirmations. But often it just means that I'm using my voice. And as I said, like this can be like, like making very nice and beautiful sounds, but it can also mean to like sound very harsh, or maybe even like a little aggressive, or not aggressive. I wouldn't use the word aggressive, because I don't want to come at, I don't want to come at somebody in an aggressive kind of way, but maybe a little more intense or stronger, because I also sometimes express the emotions of that person, or that I perceive within this person. And it's really interesting because it works so well. I was actually honestly surprised by that, especially in the personal voice alchemy recordings, because the people actually really feel the penetration of the sound, because that's in a way what it is. Like I'm pinpointing, or I'm penetrating the area, the blockage, within this energy field or the body of the person with sound, with my voice. And they can feel it actually in exactly the kind of area where I am pointing it at. And it works so well that I'm like super surprised. Of course, it does not always have to be the case, especially of course in collective sessions. Give me a second. Yeah, like especially in collective sessions. But of course, like sometimes I don't perceive something, or I'm not seeing something, or seeing something else than what the person experiences when they listen to the recording. And that is all okay, like that's all part of the deal. And that, I mean, the most important thing is it helpful? And if it is helpful, then awesome. That's like, yeah. So let's see. Yeah, I just had this, like, in order to make it a little more visible, maybe, I had this metaphor coming into my mind, like when you have like a big lake and you throw in a little stone, then this stone creates a ripple effect on the lake. And it's somehow that is how it works. I'm using my voice, or I'm using sound in order to cause a ripple effect in the energy field or the body of that person. And then it's up to them to, like let that happen, to allow it to happen, to allow something to change, to allow something to release, to be triggered also, like, and allow yourself, for example, to feel emotions that are maybe triggered from that, and to allow that to come up, because only if it comes up, and if you're present with them, with the things on some level, and that can really happen on many different levels, but if you're present with these things, with these emotions that got stuck in the body, then they can be released, and then you can allow them to, then you allow yourself to heal. And that's what I said earlier. It's always a self-healing process, always. So I can pinpoint my energy or like my voice onto you as much as I want to. If you don't want to take it, then you just, you just don't take it. On another level, of course, I mean, we could talk about this topic way more in depth, and probably should at some point. But we all know all of those who can hear experience the magic of sound, but also like the effect of sound on some level. Like, for example, through music, right? If we have our to go to music when we want to feel comfortable, or when we want to feel cozy or happy or upbeat or motivated, or but also we know the effect that destructive sound can have on our system, how stressed we get if there's a construction site with like loud noises, hammering, or even worse, things all day long, and we want to concentrate on something, onto something and stuff. So we know this, the power of sound. We know the power of sound. We all experienced it on some kind of level. So yeah, let's see what else. So this video is already a little long, but I want to tap into a few different things. For example, like the use of sounds of language. I'm sorry, probably healing right now. Anyways, like because I don't use mantras. I'm not into mantra singing, maybe at least not now. Even though I do believe, and I know that it has can have a very powerful effect. So I'm just not doing that as for now. Maybe I will at some point. But you know, like, and there are these specific languages. So we know the power of language also, and like of vowels. I'm going to say vowels. I'm not really sure if that's the correct word in English, but or what's it called? Tones, or I'm not really sure. Did I note that down somewhere? I have my notes here. No, I didn't. Anyways, like, yeah, like the power of a specific word or combination of sounds. Tones? I don't know. Anyways, and so like there are these, for example, languages, like for example Sanskrit, which appears to be very powerful, especially the older languages or ancient languages, also maybe Aramaic or Hebrew, who I perceive as like having like a massive effect on me, and that there are specific words, that you know, like that create a specific effect within us when we hear it. So that is also very interesting, and so sometimes also through me there come I don't know, it feels like words, but I don't know these words, so I don't know. I will just do what I perceive is needed to be done, because I know that these combinations of how to say that? Yeah, the combinations of those letters or those sounds will have a specific effect, and it does not matter if I'm not using the languages that I know, like, which are basically like English and German and maybe a little French and a little Spanish, maybe even a little Portuguese. But it does not matter if I understand those words. And you can, of course, you know, like there's a lot of talk about light language. Maybe that's light language. I don't know, and I also don't think that it's important. Because honestly, I'm even afraid of using that term, because I don't want to be under the pressure to, it has to be real light language now or something like that. And it, as I said, it does not really matter. It's just all that matters is that I bring through what I feel is right, or what needs to be brought through. And also just a thing like for you also, you know, like there are these chakra chantings, for example, where you can use your own voice in order to penetrate or to focus your energy onto a specific chakra and work with that chakra, and to clear the chakra, for example. And they are also using, it's always a matter of using the right frequency, so like the right... like it depends on how high you sing or how low, and it also, you can also use specific, like not words, but there's one thing, for example, if you're working with the solar plexus chakra, you can use the word or sound ram, or you can also use the sound O, or O, actually, O. And then you can sound into your chakras, and you actually feel it there. You feel it in your body. If you do it, you can just try as long as you you can try as long as you until you can feel it, and at some point you will feel it. And also, yeah, so like there's a lot of magic that we can do actually with our own voice. And I'm not done with figuring that out, but I'm doing it already. I think there's like a lot more magic that we are able to do through sound and through using and developing our own voice. And I think development is also like a major, like, or an important term here, because voice and developing, I think, go way more hand in hand than most of us are aware of. But I think that's a topic for another time. And I think that's actually it. So, yeah, I think I touched on everything. Let me see, what else do I want to say? Yeah, I just want to say, like, if you have questions, of course, always reach out to me. You can put them in the comment section. You can send me a private message. If you feel like you would want to get your personal voice alchemy recording, then you can, of course, also reach out to me. If you're not really sure if your topic or what you want help with is like manageable, then you just ask me and we will most probably figure something out, because it's also, you don't have to have a problem in order to for me to be able to create something nice for you that is designed for you and you can work with, because it can also be something that's designed for your, like your sense of self, or how you, like, help you to develop your intuition, for example, or to remember who you are, or like there are so many intentions that you can set and that you can work with in this area. So just reach out to me if you're unsure. Just reach out to me and we will find a way to do that. And of course, if you are, I'm traveling a lot right now. I've been in Germany for over half a year now. Time to move again. No, I'm not sure. But if you are in Germany and want to invite me to your studio or something, then just reach out to me. Maybe it will happen. I will sure try, because I'm always looking for options, because I love doing that. I really, really love doing that. Like there's this saying, like, that you should do what serves, like how can I serve? And that for various reasons always made me cringe. Didn't really want to hear that. I will not get into the reasons, but there are valid reasons for that, actually. But in this case, if this is serving someone, what I'm doing, then I'm super happy to serve. Because I love doing that. It's like really coming from my heart. I love doing that. I love singing. I love using my voice, and I love to, it just amazes me, and I just love creating these spaces and rooms for healing and for being in touch with oneself, and for experiencing the soul, for experiencing the soul, or for experiencing life and all these other things. So that's basically it. If you feel like you want to get in touch with me, I speak German and English, so you can reach out to me in whatever kind of language you want to, and of these two. And then we will see. We will figure something out. And again, if you have another question, then I will maybe do another video for that question, or just answer you privately, whatever it is. Just reach out to me. And I guess that's it for now. So hopefully I could make clear to you and explain to you what I do and why I love this so much, and also why I really believe that it's super powerful and very, very effective, which like I'm even creating voice alchemy recordings for myself. And that might seem like cocky, but it's not coming from a egotistical place or something. It's just like, it really helps me. So I do it. So it's not because I'm, oh, my voice is so pretty, blah, blah, blah. No, I mean, even that would also be okay, I guess. But that's not the reason why I do it. I do it because it helps me to listen to that. It helps me shift myself. So that's why I do it. All right, that's it for now. As I said, my name is Hannah Benu. My business is called Soul Vessel Mysteries. You can find me on Instagram, on YouTube, and hopefully also on other platforms soon. I'm working on that. And yeah, just reach out to me, and I wish you all a good day. Namaste. Bye bye.